pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight's consent agenda consists of the following items. A, authorize the mayor and city administrator to execute documents in connection with proposed T-Mobile lease agreement amendment for the purpose of installing, operating, and maintaining a communications facility and other improvements near the water tower in the city of Winsted. B, authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Conway, Duth, and Schmissing, PLLP, to conduct an audit of the City of Winstead's financial statements for the year ending December 31st, 2021, for a gross fee including expenses not to exceed $31,250. C, schedule a public hearing for February 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. in the City Council chambers at Winsted City Hall to consider adopting amendments to Chapter 14 of the Winsted Municipal Code related to the Minnesota State Building Code. D, adopt Resolution R22-02, accepting the donation of lockers from Mr. Kyle Diehard and Mr. Tim Olson to be installed at the Winsted Fire Hall. E, authorize a one-year leave of absence from the Winsted Volunteer Fire Department for Mr. Jason Zhang, effective January 8th, 2022. F, approve a budget amendment to 2021 Fire Department operations budget for expenses associated with fleet maintenance repair completed in 2021 and exceeding the original budget amount. G, approve and pledge the pledged securities that Security Bank and Trust Company has purchased for the City of Winsted for the month of December 2021. H, approve a building permit report for the month of December 2021. I, approve the financial report for the month of November 2021. J, approve the claims list for January 18, 2022. K, authorize the city administrator to secure a personal injury waiver on behalf of the City of Winsted and secure any additional documentations needed to accompany said waiver. As the consent agenda, I would look for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented, and I abstain from voting on item G.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The public motion approved. Number 3 is the public hearings. Item number 3 on the agenda this evening is a public hearing to adopt ordinance number 022-02 to prohibit short-term rental. Adam.
Sure. Mr. Mayor, prior to my starting my discussion, it would be appropriate if you officially open the public hearing, and then I'll take it from there and give a little synopsis of where we are at this evening prior to you opening up then for public comment.
Okay, I will open for the public hearing for public comment. If anyone wishes to address the council, please approach the podium and state your name and address.
Sure. Okay. To get started, the City of Winsted has been grappling with the issue of short-term or vacation rentals for quite some time now. We first received some public requests regarding this item back on May 15th of 2020. Short-term rental or vacation rentals is where people rent their home or a portion of their house to guests, similar to a hotel or bed and breakfast. There are popular websites like vrbo.com and airbnb.com that cater to this type of use. Short-term or vacation rentals have become a popular alternative to traditional hotels, bed and breakfasts, and resorts. Short-term rentals are also used by people living in an area for temporary basis. Can be used as renting out cabins, houses, or rooms, and certainly have become popular in tourist destination type areas. Typical concerns with this type of activity include impacts on the adjacent residential neighborhoods. The introduction of short-term guests into a residential area introduces the potential for noise and incompatible activities. It also raises concerns about the public health, safety, and access. Whereas hotels and formal lodging facilities have stringent requirements that a general residence does not. Formal lodging facilities have to meet building code, fire, and accessibility codes. So as I stated, the City Council has been considering this item of short-term rentals since early 2020. We do have a current code in place that addresses this, which states boarding or renting of rooms within an owner-occupied dwelling unit to not more than 2 persons, or each unrelated to the principal family as an accessory use, provided that the property owner shall not enter into a rental agreement with more than 2 individuals within a 30-day period. And then B, there shall be 1 off-street parking stall provided for each rental occupant on the property, in addition to the off-street parking stalls required under section 1501.023F. So again, ultimately the City Council needs to determine or needs to make a judgment on whether the short-term rental use is compatible with residential neighborhoods within the city. And if the City Council determines that the commercial or transient nature of said short-term rental is out of character with residential neighborhoods, then we would want to proceed with the proposed ordinance language that we have in front of us this evening. So as part of the public hearing, we're considering an alteration to chapter 14, specifically 1404.013. And again, this would eliminate the ability of short-term rentals or anything under 30 days within the city of Winsted. So properties couldn't be rented out for less than 30 days ultimately. That's the general idea of said ordinance this evening.
That's 2 people within 30 days?
No, our current says 2 people within 30 days. The new proposed ordinance this evening would say no rentals for less than 30 days. So again, yeah, no rentals for less than 30 days.
How would that affect any current?
If we have any current known operations with the city of Winsted, they would be found as legally non-conforming and would have to meet the current code, which is what I read earlier, to Bonnie's point, that they can, again, we allow right now boarding and renting the rooms with an owner-occupied dwelling to not more than 2 persons within a 30-day period. So that's an overview of our current language.
Right, and that would remain in effect for any current.
Right, that would, anybody that's currently doing that, and we have proof of that, they would be considered legally non-conforming then, and they could follow that. So we're aware of 1 instance right now in the city of Winsted. With that being said, does the city council need any more review of chapter 14 or any additional synopsis of the proposed ordinance language, changes to chapter 14, section 4? This is the first part of our discussion this evening, part of this public hearing. After we close this public hearing and make a decision on chapter 14, section 4, then we'll have a second discussion regarding chapter 15, which is our land use. And that's just adjusting that land use language to match chapter 14 then. So that public hearing was held at the planning commission level per our ordinances, and ultimately recommended by the planning commission back in December to the city council. So,
Any other comments?
if not, then you'll look for public comment from the crowd, George.
It is open for the public comment right now. If anybody wishes to address the council, please approach the podium and state your name and address. If not, oh, here comes Ron.
Hey, Ron. Ron Wagner, 628 Pheasant Run. We've been around and around with this. I'm not going to go into anything more. You guys have all our notes and everything like that. The only thing what we would like to have the council take a peek at is the two-person, 30 days rental. With two people, and that's considering kids, it's gonna be almost impossible to rent it out to any family. So what we would like to propose, or at least a change would be, is to go with 4 people, something like that, change the language a little bit, so we would have an opportunity to rent it out. Right now, we do not think it's real, I don't want to say fair, but just a thing that's going to be very hard to rent out under the current stipulations.
We make comment now or after the hearing is closed?
We would make comment after the public hearing is
Okay.
closed regarding that item.
That's all I have.
Okay,
Appreciate your time and,
Just double checking, Ryan, you said 4 people,
well, instead of the two people that we have in the current situation that we're in the mix with,
right?
we would like it raised to 4 people, if we could. Or more than that, I mean, it's up to you guys, but 2 people is very, very hard to rent it out if they have a kid. I mean, that's 3, we don't want to go against the laws. But we would just like the 2 expanded to 4, if it's in the council's interest.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure I understood what you're saying.
No, the 2 is fine, 4 would be the absolute better for us. And like I said, we're grandfathered in, or whatever you want to call it. You can look at each individual of people coming up and wanting to do this. You can look at each one individually. You guys have the control. You can say, hey, you know what? You can do 2 people, We're in, we would like 4. But that's totally up to you guys.
any other questions or comment?
Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to close the public hearing.
Second? All those in favor of
Aye.
closing the public hearing? Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, now you will have to consider discussion, Mr. Mayor, prior to any kind of motion to adopt or to table that ordinance. So now you'll be for city council discussion.
If you don't mind, I'll start. This thing is dragged on now for quite a while, and it's been kind of a hot potato. And I think the attempt here is to allow you to still have some ability to rent and trying to keep the neighbors somewhat happy. And quite honestly, if we didn't do this, we would just vote to not allow it at all. So it's kind of a compromise. It doesn't necessarily the best compromise for you or the best compromise for the residents in the area, but it's the one that I'm going to vote in favor of.
Thanks, Tom. Anybody else?
The only issue I'd have, if we were to change this from 2 to 4, we would have to have another ordinance written, correct?
Right, and that wouldn't be specific to anybody that's currently in legally non-conforming. That'd be for the city of Winston in general. We can't write specific ordinances or laws for individual properties.
Right.
So
That's
the
what I'm
reason,
getting at.
yeah, so right now we have a legally non-conforming property that they can follow our current code that we're currently working under as of right now. Now, if we amend the code this evening, that means everybody else will have to follow the new code, which states it's not allowed. So again, the legally non-conforming residents, which we're 1, can continue to follow the old code instead of having to follow the new code. And the old code calls for 2. So if we were to adjust that new code then would be for everybody in Winstead. Hopefully that clarifies that,
And then we'd have to go again,
and we would start the process over, absolutely.
all over again.
Correct. Which isn't necessarily an issue, but again, we don't have the ability to pick and choose which residents fall underneath which code. That's against the Minnesota state statute.
That answers my question.
I'm in agreement with Tom.
I have a question.
Sure.
Does this ordinance prohibit any future?
As of right now, yes. Now, if we want to revisit the ordinance and amend it again, we certainly can. So let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking, in 10 years from now, there's a district that's created where the city council deems that short-term rental might be appropriate. You know, we can certainly look at amending the ordinance at that time then and allow for short-term rental within that district.
As of tonight, the Wagners would be the only one allowed,
Yes.
and the future would depend upon rezoning.
Would depend upon an amendment to this ordinance. The chapter 4, amendment to chapter 14, section 4.
Any other questions? Comments?
Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to adopt ordinance 0-22-03, amending chapter 15, section 1 of municipal code of
I
the...
hate-
Am I doing the
Tom,
wrong one?
Yep, the one above that, sorry.
That's all right. I'll start over. Mr. Mayor, I'll motion to adopt ordinance 0-22-02, amending chapter 14, section 4 of the municipal code of the city of Winsted concerning rental dwelling units by prohibiting short-term rentals.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. No old business. Under new business, we're going to discuss Chapter 15 of the Winsted Municipal Code. Adam?
Sure. So like I stated earlier, this discussion centers around altering the language within our land use section. So again, we want to ensure that our language within chapter 15 matches the ordinance that we just approved regarding chapter 14, section 4. These text amendments to chapter 15 include altering some definitions so that they match the new definitions in chapter 14. And then it limits, again, or it eliminates the boarding or renting of rooms within owner-occupied dwellings to any principal family that is, or excuse me, the property owner shall not enter into a rental agreement with a person for less than 30 days within any period. So again, that'll be the new language for both the Egg District, the R1, the R1B single-family residential district, and the R2 multifamily residential district. So again, it will eliminate the ability to rent rooms or structures for less than a 30-day period. So that being said, are there any additional questions for me regarding Chapter 15, Section 1? Again, lastly, I apologize. We held a public hearing regarding this text amendment back in December, on December 13th, at the Planning Commission level per City Code, and the Planning Commission recommended to approve the text amendment to the City Council on a 5-0 vote. Now, is there any questions for me?
Mr. Mayor, a motion to adopt ordinance number 0-22-03, amending chapter 15, section 1 of the municipal code of the city of Winsted concerning rental dwelling units.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. The next item to receive 20 City Council priorities, fourth quarter update. Adam?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of City Council. This evening, as we do typically in January, we will be reviewing the fourth quarter priorities. So I will give a little synopsis and a little background of each priority for the City Council to understand where we're at within our priorities from 2021. So again, an overview, we'll look at the 2021 priorities and a background of how they were selected, and then a review of the reporting process, and then ultimately we'll give the update regarding highlights of items within the green, yellow, and red statuses. The 2021 priorities are year-long goals designed to advance programs, projects, and services prioritized by the City Council. These priorities are consistent with previously adopted plans, motions, resolutions, and ordinances. The priorities are attempted to be outcome-based and used to measure the success of projects and staff. For a priority to be considered, it must be under direct influence of the City Council and the city staff. Priorities are also used to direct city staff, city commissions, and consultants' efforts on a day-to-day basis. Back in January of 2021, the City Council received 41 proposed priorities as part of the discussion that day. Of the 41, the council selected 17 priorities for 2021. The priorities were ultimately approved by the City Council at the regular business meeting on February 16th of 2021. Of those 17 priorities, 5 of them were automatically selected due to the stage or nature of the project as carryovers from 2020. The city staff reports the status of the City Council priorities through a traffic light system. The priorities are identified as either green, yellow, red, or red on hold. Ultimately, the goal of the reporting system is to allow the council to make informed decisions regarding projects, timelines, and resource allocation. So now specifically to the fourth quarter, again, we had 17 priorities. Those 17 priorities are laid out within our value statements that were previously approved in 2009. So we had 2 priorities within fiscal responsibility. We had 8 priorities outlined underneath excellence and quality and delivery of services. And we had 7 priorities that fell underneath the leadership and planning value statement. Highlighting some of the priorities that are in green status that we haven't discussed extensively at any city council work session or city council meeting. Project number 1 was the continued development of the industrial park expansion, including extension of County State Aid Highway 5 through the Winston Industrial Park. Our fourth quarter milestone included researching additional funding opportunities and negotiate property acquisition required for connection to McLeod County Road 9 and then continue the project design. So as I previously informed the City Council, we were notified that we did receive the TEDdy grant. So that's a grant administered through the Minnesota Department of Employment and Economic Development. The grant award is for $750,000 toward the project cost. So right now, a high-level estimate of this project is approximately $3 million. This grant, again, will cover $750,000 toward those project costs. Additionally, we have received verification, or as close as we can get the verification, regarding use of our ARPA funds toward utility installation. So it is our belief that we can use our ARPA funds, which again are pandemic related, toward utility extensions associated with this project. So again, continuing to find more funding mechanisms to cover our share of this proposed project, because it's been negotiated that the city of Winston is responsible for about 20% of the project cost toward this road extension. On top of that, city staff has continued to meet with engineers from both Bolton Mink and McLeod County as we wrap up project design. We had a meeting last week, again, to wrap up some very final details. So we will be looking to start construction on this project after we go through the final approval process. Our goal is to start construction on this project in 2023, to go through and do all the soil corrections as needed, and then install asphalt in 2024. So that's kind of the proposed timeline of this project right now. Project number 12 out of all of our projects, out of those 17, is to consider programs and strategies to encourage the development of housing options within the city of Winsted. Our Q4 milestone included distributing the comprehensive housing needs analysis to interested developers and engage in discussion with interested developers. So as you probably remember, earlier this year, the City Council approved that comprehensive housing needs analysis, again, which was partially grant funded. I would say that project has been very successful, because as we've advertised that on our website, as well as the gentleman that did that analysis has been marketing for us as well. So I've had 3 developers reach out to me. 2 out of those 3 seen that analysis either off our website or through that gentleman that did the analysis. So right now their interest is particular in high density housing. And again, of these 3 developers, their preferred site continues to be in regards to Main Avenue redevelopment. So city staff continues to work with them, looking for an actual proposal that we can bring forward to the EDA and then ultimately the city council regarding any kind of incentives the city council might have to engage in for this type of project. It looks to be a market rate project. They are determining yet if it's senior specific or not, or if it's strictly market rate. But again, I'm hopeful that in 2022, we'll gain some traction on this. But key stakeholders have certainly been in part of this initial conversation. Certainly, so it's very exciting where we're at, that we have some interested people right now. Project number 11 is develop plans and funding strategies to complete cured in place CIP pipelining, construction of sanitary sewer lines. Our 4th quarter milestone was to proceed with the project construction. That project did proceed in the 4th quarter and was ultimately completed in November without any issue. That project area included an area near the lake from Lake Street to Linden. It included George Avenue. It included McLeod Avenue from 2nd Street to Kingsley Avenue, as well as 1 block of Rosalie from 1st Street to Barrett Street. So again, we had a very favorable pricing on that maintenance project, that sewer line maintenance project. So we're able to get additional footage done on George Avenue to knock off a larger percentage of our needs. We look to be reassessing and potentially doing some more work in 2023 regarding the sanitary sewer lines. Project in a yellow status, and this pains me certainly, but our goal is to complete the draft plan and review with the public works staff regarding the maintenance plan. Excuse me, I misspoke here. This project in the yellow status is in regards to the sidewalk repair project. Our goal is to complete the draft plan and review it with the public works and start the. You know what? I have a typo here. I'm stumbling all around. The yellow project is definitely the public works plan. So I apologize for that. It's the public works plan. We hope to have that draft completed and reviewed with the staff and with the city council. With the change in staffing and the workload associated with onboarding that employee, we haven't got that done yet. We'll need to look at doing that again in 2022. So we continue. We've knocked off additional sections of that plan, but it has not been completed yet, 100%. Now moving on to the red status projects. Again, this was to create a plan to update and repair various sidewalk sections per the sidewalk inventory completed in 2019. Our 4th quarter milestone included completing phase 1 of the sidewalk repair projects. This was delayed, due to some conflicts in our scheduling with our public works department, but also a lack of consensus regarding the project scope as we work with those stakeholders that are adjacent to our proposed sidewalk removal areas. So we will have to wrap this up in the 1st quarter to move forward with that in 2022. The last project that's red on hold and reported similar to the last quarter is project number 16, renovate the light poles adjacent to McLeod County Road 1. Again, the city staff has recommended delaying this project until there's a better understanding of the future McLeod County Road 1 improvements, and all those improvements have been analyzed. So when I recently met with the McLeod County engineer, he reaffirmed the plans from McLeod County to resurface County Road 1 in 2025. And between now and then, we need to negotiate what pedestrian facilities adjacent to that resurfacing project will look like. If we decide to partner or lead a project to add pedestrian facilities adjacent to County Road 1, then we'll need to make some design determinations regarding the current location of our light poles, whether we move them behind a pedestrian facility or we leave a boulevard where the current light poles are. Because there'll be a substantial difference in project costs regarding how we determine where we want our lighting on that project. So, with that being said, I know I stumbled through that a little bit, but are there any questions for me regarding the priorities and as they're listed within your council packet? All 17 are listed there, including their status and a brief summary of them.
Do you foresee the ones on hold carrying over into 20?
Yeah, so for the public's knowledge here, the city council is scheduled to meet tomorrow in work session regarding their annual strategic planning and goal setting retreat for 2022. Historically, projects that were on hold or not completed in the previous year typically get carried over to the next year. Now, we've recently discussed kind of reorganizing how we do our strategic planning, but yes, to your point, Councilmember Oleg, I do anticipate those projects carrying over into 2022 and beyond ultimately. So, any additional questions from me this evening regarding our 2021 priorities or our strategic planning session tomorrow?
This question, was any of the sidewalks removed?
No, we delayed or we held off removing any sidewalk until we could get more stakeholder input and understanding, I guess.
Okay.
So now, over the next handful of months, or throughout the next first quarter, I plan to have that stakeholder involvement wrapped up, including some additional discussion with City Council regarding the implications of that input. So,
And one of our green items, our generator for the city hall. Has that been up and running? And
Yeah,
you tested it?
I'm glad you brought that up, Mike. Yes, that project is completed. It is installed. We did receive training from the company that installed it. It's a really hands-off piece of equipment. It is scheduled to run on its own every 2 weeks at 9 a.m. on Wednesday mornings. It changes over all on its own. It's completely hands-off, but if we do have to manually start it or manually switch it over, we do have the training and the notes on how to do that. It's a nice piece of equipment. It'll run this entire building. It's quiet. I think we're gonna be very happy with that for whenever we, knock on wood, if we ever have an emergency situation. So,
And it is quiet, huh?
it is quiet. Chief Helt, you've heard it run, or you've been associated with that project. Is there anything else that I'm missing on that? You've kind of taken the lead on that installation.
Quieter than a lawnmower. I think it looks good where it's at. Really well.
Right. They'll be performing annual maintenance on it. Our public works staff will periodically just check under the cover for different items, but it's very hands-off. Does not take a lot of time from our staff. So,
Good.
On the repair and the removal of the sidewalks,
yep.
we are still going to remove the sidewalk, we're going to just plant grass.
Yeah, for a portion of phase one, ultimately, what I anticipate is that we'll proceed with removing sidewalk along First Street South, and then we'll install turf or reinstall the turf through that area and extend the sidewalks from the front doors of the road as needed. Ultimately, where we still have some discussion is regarding the proposed sidewalk removal along Rosalie Avenue.
Any other discussion or comment? Guess not.
Okay.
So we will move on to the organizational report. And we have a gentleman this evening who has just been nominated to take care of Holy Trinity School, and he's going to come up and give us his name and what else is happening.
Hi there, everybody. I'm Tony Kalkutsky. I was a former teacher and principal at Holy Trinity for 36 years. Been retired, and so I was telling Oleg and a few others that we lost our principal. He had the opportunity to take a job in South Bend related to Notre Dame University, and he is going to be heading up a school that is going to be the school children in that school. It'll eventually be grades K through 12 are the children of the professors at the University of Notre Dame. So it's a specialized school, and he's going to head that up. And so on January 1st, I agreed to come back out of retirement for a while and be the interim principal till the selection committee finds a new principal. So I told Father, I said, have everybody say prayers that it doesn't last long. So, but I'm here to present and talk to you a little bit about Holy Trinity Parish and Schools. We have had a long history in this community, and we have a very visible sign in this community because of our church building and where it is. And for many, many years, we've been part of a vibrant faith community that tries to reach out and actually participate within this community too and help lead in this community. And so we've had a school going for a long, long time, along with our other parish activities. And I think one of the things I'd like to address this year, or since this evening, that's happening this year, is that we are right in the middle of a finance campaign to improve our facility, especially our church. And we've had a number of stakeholder meetings to put this building back in shape. And so we're looking at, since we sit right across from you, repairs to our roof and tuck pointing and the interior of the church, doing a number of other what I would call, what you might call public improvements, but they're improvements to our facility. And the response to this has been very, very positive. And so that's one thing you can see here in the city of Winsted. Hopefully as we complete this campaign, this capital campaign, that the building that you see so often will stand for another 100 years and will still be a vibrant faith community. Like other churches across the state of Minnesota, though, we faced there's some issues because of COVID. We're not alone in this, because I talked to some of my other fellow Christian churches about this. We live stream our services because there's still a number of people that are still afraid to come out of, and for whatever reason. And when we had to kind of back off on services, some people got used to just staying at home and on Sunday morning and watching those. So the attendance in our services are down, but the community is still working really well, and people are still responding. And so as we look forward to the future, you will see we will have to work closely with you with some of our projects in terms of where we're going to take when we repair that roof and do all that tuck pointing. And so that's the church side, the parish side. On the school side, we have made some changes this year. Our curriculum, we have gone to a more classical education approach in our curriculum. To be honest, it was kind of what I went through when I was in the high school that I was at. And but we went away from it. Now we're kind of coming back to it. And the classical approach tries to kind of address the whole person, which really helps us in terms of getting the faith dimension into this. And so, like, if you were studying, you have a block to study. So, like, if you're studying, I was in the 9th and 10th grade class this morning, and they're right now in their world history class. That section is on Greek, the Greeks, the ancient Greeks and the culture there. But you expand that. And so you work your English into that, so you're reading literature from that period of time, and for the social studies aspects, you're looking at how the influences that came from there. You can even work in your faith dimension, the religions that were going on at that time. And so you're studying like more than one discipline. And so they work that into your classical education approach. You also look at things like the what I would call the arts part of it, the music of that time, you know, what's going on politically at that time. So it's a different approach to education. And so, like, if you're studying American history and you're going through that period of time, so if you're looking, let's say, at the 1940s, World War II, it would expand much more than just studying the war. You'd be looking at what's going on in the culture, what's going on among the people, what's the literature that came out during that period of time, what's the music that came out during that period of time. So you get a whole approach to what's going on in the history. So it's kind of a new approach. And so our staff has been working hard to try to get that implemented. And a few years ago, we also went to a different model. We used to have, you know, you guys probably are used to that. We had, grade school usually went through 8th grade, and then you had high school. Well, then we went to junior highs. Well, now we have middle schools. And so we have that kind of same approach. So we have, pre-K through 4, and then 5 through 8 as a block, and then 9 through 12. And so we made that transition. So we have a middle school going now. I'm happy to be back at Holy Trinity. I guess I say my blood turns purple because that was our school colors, and because I was there so long. But I'm really encouraged by the number of young families that are coming into our. We lost a few students this year, but we picked up 40 new students this year, and that's a pretty sizable number. So, and we had an open house this last weekend, and we had 14 new families that came to take a look at our Holy Trinity schools. And I think the total number of students of those 14 families was something like 28 students. So if they would all come in, it was a positive experience. The other thing that I was here tonight is to thank you as a city. Over the years, this community has supported all education, whether it's public education or us. You have always done that. The people of this community are very generous. Maybe that's the best way to say it. Very generous, not only of their financial support, but of their time and their concern and their in helping support us as we go forward in trying to educate children, and also to have our faith community right within the realm of this fine city. And so you should be proud of what you do, and we're proud of what we do. And hopefully, if you have, we can kind of still partner as we go forward. So if you have any questions, I'd be open to answering any of those.
Do you know in the school, Tony, how many staff you employ?
I really don't have that number off the top of my head.
Okay.
I've only been at the helm there for a couple of weeks, so I got all their names down now though, so I can walk into the room and not have to worry about looking on the door whose room am I going into, or who's doing in this period. And I'm trying to learn the names of the kids because I've been gone for almost 6 years, so that's quite a few years. But I'm thinking, let me think. I can give you a quick number once I run through. So we have pre-K, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Then if we get to the upper grades, I suppose it's about almost close to 20 total.
Okay.
What between the staff and teachers,
Okay.
right around there.
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment. One of the young ladies that just recently moved to this community was probably one of the 14 that you're talking about. But both her and her husband approached me at the drugstore and said that they were really excited about being here, and they have 4 children. One is starting this year, but they were really enthusiastic about it, so.
That's kind of nice. So it really helps us, and when you look at schools, you have to kind of take a look at the big picture of what's happening within our state. And rural Minnesota is losing population, and so you see all these mergers that are going on. Sometimes you look at, they have to do it by initial. Well, there might be 5 towns. Some counties are down to one high school in the whole county, and so there's struggles with trying to keep numbers up and that kind of thing. And the reality is, we have to be honest. Our population base most families are, 2 or less these days with children. When I started teaching here, we had families that had 12, 13, 14 kids. And so we have to look at expanding our recruiting and drawing people from other communities to come into school here too. And part of that's, population based. Just can't get away from that. You have those declining enrollments. It's scary. Our lake place we have is down in Elysian, Minnesota. That's where I'd like to retire. But we have Watertown and Elysian and Morristown and then next to us is JWP. But if you take a look at our community down there, Waterville, Elysian, Morristown, if it wasn't for the summer homes around that place, the cabins and the camps and all that stuff, if you take a look at the regular population, my parish at St. Andrews, they only have 70 families that belong to that parish. In the summer, you have about 150, because they're just there for the summer. So it changes the directions. And so we have to adapt to that too in our recruitment and drawing people here into our school. But I am so happy about the kids that I get to work with every day. Their smiling faces, their respect, all that's really a really important thing. So it's been really good. And so I'm looking forward to this challenge here for the next month or 2 or 3. I'll be done by May. Because they're going to have we do have a number of people that have applied already, so to come to be the new principal. So I just don't know how that process is going to work. But most of you know me. I also served as your state representative for 4 terms. So when I was
That's why you have the gray hair.
well, it wasn't quite as bad back there then. You could still negotiate things sometimes.
And then, Tony, you were also the assistant football coach when they used to beat Lester Prairie, right?
Well, that's true.
Look at Justin.
Well, we did have a streak there for 8 years in a row.
Well, you should know about that.
Happened that way.
It just didn't happen.
Then
when I played.
that the worm does turn too, though.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I have to you have to understand, we are paired with Lester for football, and it was the first time I went after we paired, and I had to come up to Coach Skoblick and say, "Geez, I used to just dream about drubbing you. Now I have to cheer for you." That was, but it's been a good experience for us. Coach Skoblick is a good coach, and he's really good to our kids, and that's been a good part of our program. But yeah, I did coach football. Mm-hmm. That was, I really miss the good old days, as they call them, when we had the Circle A conference. Because all the towns were about the same size, and all the schools were about the same size, and our longest drive was, maybe 45 minutes. Now you have to drive to Timbuktu to go play somebody, so it's hard. Because, it does add to your costs. Just your transportation costs and everything change. So, but it's good. It's good.
So currently, though, most athletics are paired with HLWW.
Howard Lake is, except for football.
Okay.
So we're paired with Howard Lake Waverly Winsted. And there's some advantages to that too, because of the public school being within that, the city of Winsted being within that. And it works out pretty well for us because of transportation and other things, and where the kids are based. So,
Tony, I just want to reiterate from a staff perspective and from a state council perspective, I think one of our top priorities is certainly residential development. We understand our workforce has needs for development standpoint, our school districts do, et cetera. So we're doing everything we can to entice more development within Winsted, and hopefully that filters down to more opportunities for your recruitment, et cetera, for your organization as well.
Well, I think that's really essential, because if you take a look at, everybody needs help. The help wanted signs are all over. I've got one sitting on my front lawn on Highway 7 for Litvin's there to get people there.
Sure.
And part of the reason we don't get some of the labor is they don't have places for housing.
Right, absolutely.
And so, so, you know, we're kind of all in this game together.
Right. And that's.
One hand feeds the other hand, and it helps all of us together.
Right. As we look to recruit, or as we look to incentivize or work with developers, having strong school districts is certainly a big portion of that. So I agree with you. We're all working together to better Winsted as a community as a whole. So
then
I appreciate your efforts.
I really think you guys should be proud of what you've done already and working on. When I looked at your priorities and you're trying to do those kind of things,
Sure.
That's really awesome. Because we do have to look at our future, you know. And as I told my staff the first day that I was there, when we had our staff meeting, is that, you know, we have to look at drawing kids from many other communities, because if you take a look at just the demographics, it's the numbers aren't there. I mean, we do have to do some recruiting, you know. So, and I think we offer a really clear choice for some people and their families. So hopefully that recruitment will go well. But and you know, this community is just pretty awesome. You know, it just amazes me how many people volunteer for everything. You know, whether it's church-related activities or community-related activities. You guys do. This city does a really good job. I mean, you know, when I was in the legislature, I used to hold you guys up as a model all the time. You know.
Did you pass anything for us?
Yeah. No, you have to understand, when I first elected, Arnie Carlson was the governor. Then we had Jesse. I was there for the whole term of Jesse, and then was Pawlenty. And I had Governor Pawlenty come out and talk to he was the guest speaker at Civic and Commerce, Inc., whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
He came, and after that, I was sitting back, and he called me up to his office. I went up there, he says, I didn't know a community like that could exist. You have everything there. You have business going, you have active community people going, your schools are going. He says, you're kind of he says, how come nobody knows about you guys? And I said, well, hopefully that, you know, we'll get on the web pages and they'll get to know us. And so, I mean, he was impressed what he saw that night. So, and I did enjoy the cooperation with you guys when I was a state representative. I should thank you for that too. It was kind of interesting. And I was listening to your talk with you know, getting through all that state stuff sometimes can drive you nuts. So more power to you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And you're free to come and visit anytime you'd like. Just stop by and we'll give you a tour.
And we always tell the schools when they present to us that if your student council ever wants to come and use this dais
Oh,
and be on television, they can.
that'd be cool. That'd be awesome.
Arrange it with Adam.
Yeah, that would be neat to do.
Absolutely.
And then get it on TV beside, that'd be
Yep.
awesome. And so we have open door, you know, just come in and knock on the door, you can come on in and we'll get
Do you have daycare?
we have aftercare school, yeah.
Okay.
And so that we just started that this year, and so we do have that going. So, and so we actually, you know, we're pre-K plus, you know, K, and then we do have aftercare for school.
Okay.
And in the morning we're there at 7 o'clock, so it works out pretty well. You know, so we had, you know, with the breakfast program, some parents drop their kids off, and then we have staff down there not only for the kitchen, but we also have staff down there to watch the kids till everybody gets there. So
Do you know how many kids participate in that?
in that coming down in the morning.
Yeah.
In the morning, we probably have 15 or 16 kids that are there early, like between 7 to 7:15.
Okay.
Because mom and dad drop them off before they have to go to work, so. It helps, like when we close school, that's a hard thing for some parents.
Right.
Especially if you don't give them a little more notice.
I know you've only been there a short time, and this probably isn't in your sphere of influence, but are you aware of any plans to expand childcare?
They, I can't speak to it completely, but I was at one of my first meetings that I was at with Father was that, and he said that they are looking at trying to get more of that going. But you got to kind of not want to tread on other people's toes too. You want to take a look at what's going on in the community, what individual people are doing. childcare in their homes. You don't want to ruffle feathers, so
Well,
I
your
know they want to do that.
your predecessor met with Adam and had that discussion, and I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, the industry in town has expressed a need for that service.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, that prohibits some workforce due to the lack of childcare. So there is a potential need. We're trying to better assess what that looks like, though, certainly. But yeah, certainly a need.
I'll put that on our notes to take
Right.
a look for our future planning.
Yeah,
But, you know, you see it in the morning when you watch the school closings, because they just say, you know, school's closed, no AM preschool, but this is open, and that's the
Right.
childcare piece
Right.
is still open.
Yeah.
So I know that's provides a great service to many families, so we,
I think too, there were some industries that expressed some interest in helping
Right.
to fund it.
right. There's certainly partnership opportunities that would like to work on.
I'll talk more
Sure.
about that when I sit down with our
Yeah.
school advisory committee and
Excellent.
go through that'd be a great thing for us to expand too.
Right.
It's a great idea.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Attending.
Appreciate it. Don't be a stranger. You can come over and visit.
We've come to the open forum, and I don't see anybody out there that's going to approach the microphone, so I'm going to have Adam give us
Sure.
what he has.
Just real quickly, just a reminder, we do have the strategic planning and goal setting session tomorrow at 9 a.m. Also, within your most recent utility bill, you should receive some information regarding the Community Service Award nominations. We're looking to fill 3 categories, including the 18 and under age group, an individual group, and a business/organization group. So again, looking for nominations for the Community Service Award. Those nominations are due February 10th, so next month. Look for it within your city billing insert as well as other city media. And then lastly, we do have an EDA meeting scheduled for this Thursday at 3:30. I'll be providing some updates on some of the housing projects that we are looking at working with.
Super.
Other than that, that's all that I have.
Any questions for Adam?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is closed.
Thank you, everyone.
I don't trust
Thanks, Tony.
We're
Thank you, Tony.
throwing.
Justin, always good to see you.